Hello everyone, welcome to our comprehensive tutorial on Laravel AJAX single and multiple file and image upload with validation. I'm Umesh Rana and you are watching Programming Fields. This video is on request by one of my subscriber. So firstly, thanks to him to stay connected with Programming Fields. In this tutorial, we will cover everything you need to know to implement the functionality in your Laravel application. So let's dive in. But before we begin, let's quickly go over what we will cover in this tutorial. So we will start with setting up our Laravel environment, then move on to the creating routes and controllers for file and image upload. Thereafter, we will design our upload form and implement both single and multiple file and image upload functionality using AJAX. Also, we will cover validation and error handling. So by the end of this tutorial, you will have a clear understanding of how to implement this feature in your Laravel application. First thing first, let's set up our Laravel environment. We will begin by installing Laravel using Composer and creating a new Laravel project. And once the project is set up, we will configure our database and then run migrations to create necessary tables. So firstly, let's switch back to terminal. And here we will create our Laravel project. So we will use Composer create project command. For this Laravel AJAX upload. So this is our project name. Let's hit enter. And this will take a couple of seconds to create the project. Yes. So Laravel application is created. Now let's switch to the project folder. We have project folder as AJAX upload. And let's open it in VS Code editor. Yes, so project is opened in VS Code editor. Alright, so in the second step, we will have to configure our database. So let's switch to .env file. So here we will have to provide database name. So let's add AJAX upload DB. This is fine. And I will have to provide database password as well. So this is done. Now in the next step, we will have to create a model and migration in order to upload file using AJAX. So let's switch back to terminal. And here we will create one model and migration. So we will write PHP artisan make :model file, and also we will pass one flag as -m for migration. Lastly, we will require a controller as well, so we will pass C. So here M stands for migration and C stands for controller. Alright, so let's hit enter, and yes, these three files are created: model, migration and controller. Now let's switch back to project folder. And here under the database folder, we have these migrations. This files migration is created. So let's click on this, and here we will specify schema for this table. So let's add few fields just like file name. Alright, this can be nullable, and we will add one more column as file name original. So here in this file name, we will store timestamp file name so that it will be unique for every file. And here in this file name original, we will store original file name. So this is done. Now let's switch back to model. So we have app/models, and inside this we have this file model. So let's define fillable property inside this. So we will write protected fillable, and inside this array we will pass the field name as file name and file name original. Yeah, this is done. Now let's switch back to terminal again, and let's migrate this. So we will write PHP artisan migrate. So here you will notice I have not created database as of now. So once I will migrate, this will ask one prompt: you want to create a new database? So let's hit enter. Yes, so it said the database AJAX upload DB does not exist. Would you like to create it? So I will select yes. So it created database, and these all tables are migrated inside that database. Alright, let's open database and check this. So we have this AJAX upload DB. Yes, so these tables schemas are created. Now let's switch back to VS Code editor, and let's design our form to upload files. So we have this resources views folder. Inside this, I will create one blade file as file upload. Alright, we will use Bootstrap 5. So I already have one extension in order to include Bootstrap 5 CDN. So I will type BS5, and if I will hit enter, it included Bootstrap 5 CDNs. So this is done. Now let me change this title to AJAX file image upload in Laravel 10. And we don't require this header footer, so I will remove this. And inside this body, I will create one container. And here I will add one title as h3 class text center image and file upload in Laravel 10. Alright, And here we will give some space from top and bottom, so I will give padding y of 5, and then I will create one row and column of 6. Inside this column I will create one card, and inside this card we will have this card header and card body. Alright, and just before this card I will have to open this form, and here we will define method as post, and also we will have to pass this encryption type to multi-part form data. Alright, and we can give one ID, so we will write this ID attribute to file upload form. Alright, and here we will have this form closing tag. This is done. Inside this card body we will create one div class as form group, and we will have one label for file. Alright, and we will have one input type equals file, and we will pass class as form control. Okay, we can pass name attribute to file and ID as file. This is done. Okay, now we will add div class card footer. Inside this card footer we will create one button type submit, and we will have class as btn primary, and I will pass this button text as upload. This is done. This card header is not required, so we can remove this because we already added title in this h3. Okay, and let's run this form. So in order to run this form we will have to create one route, so let's add web route, and here I will create one more route as route : get. Inside this I will pass endpoint as file, and in the second argument we'll have to pass file controller : class, and from there we will call one function as index. Now let's define this index function inside this file controller. So we will create public function index, and here we will return view as file upload. So this is done. Now let's run this application. So we will write php artisan serve. So application is started on 8000 port. Okay, so let's switch back to browser and let's open localhost 8000. So application is running. Now let's switch back to route file. Yes, so view is rendered. Now let's align this card to center. So inside this file upload view I will give margin auto class and shadow to this card. So this is done. Let's refresh now, and yes, this looks nice now. Here we can pass padding bottom of 2. Okay, now in the next step we will have to write functionality to upload this file using AJAX. So firstly we will have to include jQuery CDN. So we will write jQuery CDN, and here we will copy this minified.js CDN. Alright, so let's copy and let's add it inside this view file. So just above these scripts I will add this jQuery CDN. Okay, yeah, this is fine. And in order to perform file upload using AJAX, we will have to create form submit handler. So either we can create a separate script.js or we can add that inside the same blade file. So as of now I'm going to add that script in the same blade file. So just above this closing of a body tag I will add one script type text/javascript, and we will have this script closing, and inside this we will write $document.ready function. Okay, so now we have to define form submit handler. So we already given ID attribute to this form, so let's copy this ID, and here we will write hash file upload form dot submit function. So when this form is submitted we will have to perform AJAX call. So we will write $.ajax, and inside this we will have to define URL, in which URL this form will be submitted. So we will have to write URL, and inside this we will pass URL as file upload. Okay, and we will have to define type as post because we are submitting file, and thereafter we will have to define data. So here we will have to pass data. Data means file. So generally in the post request we serialize the form and pass the serialized form data, but in the case of file upload the serialized form won't work, because when we serialize the form data is converted in URL encoded. So in this way file upload will not work. We will have to instantiate the form data. So here we will define one variable as const form data, and we will write new form data, and here we will pass this. So this will instantiate the form data when we will submit the current form. Alright, and also we will have to prevent the default form submission handler. So we will write event and then event dot prevent default. So it will restrict default submission, and inside this data we will pass this form data. This is done, and here instead of file upload directly we can write route function in the curly bracket, because we are defining this script inside this same blade file. So we can use this route function. Now in the next step, we will have to add few more property for this AJAX upload. Firstly, we will add this cache to false. So here cache false means we are telling jQuery not to cache this response whenever it will come from the server side. By default, jQuery cache AJAX response to make better performance. So here we are avoiding that because every AJAX response should be unique. So here it will add timestamp along with the response. Now in the next line, we will have to define content type. So we will write content type to false. So this content type is basically the content type of data that we are sending to the server. By default, jQuery sets this option to URL encoded, which is appropriate when we are sending form data. When we will serialize the form, it will be encoded and it will be converted to a string. But currently we are going to upload file, so we will have to make it false. So by setting it to false, it allows the browser to set the correct content type. Alright. Similarly, we will have to add process data. So we will write process data to false again. So this option specifies whether jQuery should process that data before sending it to the server. By default, jQuery sets this to true, which means it will try to convert data objects such as form data or plain objects into query strings. So whenever we are sending file to server, we have to make sure this process data is false. It will send the exact same file whatever it is chosen from the form. Now we will have to capture the success response. So we will write success function, and inside this we will write response, and also we will have to write error function as well. So we will write error, and inside this success response we will check if response dot status equals success. Okay, then we will display the success message. So for that, what I will do, I will add one div and I will pass id as a response. All right, and I will capture that AJAX response inside this div. So I will write $has response.html, and inside this I will use this backtick, right? And here I will use div class alert success, alert dismissible. Okay, and we will have this div closing, and inside this div I will append that message that will be coming from this response itself. So I will write response.message. Similarly, we will write for else part, that means response.status equals field. Then I will add this alert response in danger format. This is done. And similarly, if we have any exception, then we will write the same thing in danger. In this case, we won't have the dynamic message. So I will write there is some error while uploading file. Okay, this is done. Let's save it. Also, we will require a CSRF token in order to submit this form using post request. So what we will do, we will create one meta attribute here just before this head closing tag. So here we will write meta name equals CSRF token, and we will define content, and inside this we will use CSRF token helper function. This is done. Now we can receive this CSRF token while submitting the form. So we will have to pass this CSRF token in the headers. So before submitting this form, here we will have to define headers $.ajax setup function, and inside this we will have to define headers object, and inside this headers object we will have to pass x-csrf-token. Alright, and then here we will have to fetch that meta CSRF token content. So we will write $meta name equals CSRF-token, okay, dot attribute content. This is done. Now let's come to the controller in order to capture this AJAX request. Let's copy this endpoint first and switch back to web.php, and here we will have to define this endpoint in post form. So I will write route : post, and this file upload endpoint, and here again we will have to write this file controller : class, and we will use store function. So let's copy this function and let's add it inside this controller. Right, we will define this store function and we will use this request object. Okay, we are done. And here we will validate the file before uploading. So we will use validator facade. So we will have to write validator : make $request all. Alright, and in the second argument we will have to define array, and inside this array we will have to pass those fields for which we want to validate. And as of now we have only one input field inside that form. So we have the name attribute as file. Let's copy and let's add it inside this validator request. And here we will add validation rule as required. And firstly we are going to upload image only, so we will add mimes to png, jpg, jpeg, gif and svg as well. And also we can add max attribute in order to prevent large file upload. So this is done. Now we have to capture this validation error so that we can populate the error messages over the form. So we will add one condition. If validator fails, then we will return this response in the form of JSON, and we will add a status to failed, and we will add message, and inside this message we will extract the validation error message. So we will add validator errors function. Alright, let's save it and let's switch back to browser first. Refresh the application and let's try to submit this form before choosing any file. So it said object because inside this message we will have array of object. Let's try to click on upload again. Yes, so inside this message we are getting response in the form of array. So we are getting one key as file, and inside that we have this 0 index. So for that we will have to extract while capturing this response. So instead of status failed we will add error, and here we will add one more condition inside this AJAX response. So we will add else if response dot status equals error. Okay, then we will capture response dot message dot file, and inside that file we will print only 0 index. Okay, let's refresh and check now. Yes, so it said file failed is required. However, we can perform client side validation as well, but as of now we have added server side directly. So it totally depends on you and your requirement. If you want to add client side as well, then you can add client side validation using jQuery validator or Parsley. That we will see in upcoming videos as well. So this file validation is working. Now let's proceed the further functionality in order to capture this file. So let's switch back to controller, and here we will check if request has file, and inside that file we have this file object. So if request has file, then inside this we will process the file upload thing. So firstly we will have to extract the file name through extension. So we will create one variable as file name, and here we will add request file, and we will use get client original extension function. So this will return the file extension, and here we will concatenate timestamp along with this extension so that it will generate unique file name for every file. Okay, similarly we will have to capture the file original name. Alright, so that we will capture from get client original name function. So we will have to write like this. So we have the timestamp file name and original file name as well, and check file name and file name original. Okay, let's save it and let's come to the browser. Let's refresh this application, choose any file, and inside this we can see we have this timestamp file name and we have this original file name as well. Now let's proceed the upload functionality. So here we will use request file a storage function. Alright, so this store and a storage function will belong to this storage folder that we already discussed in our one of video, in which we have covered in-depth file upload things related to multiple functions for uploading files and capturing the response. Alright, so we will be using this store as function. So we will add folder name as uploads. Okay, and in the second argument we will have to pass this timestamp file name. So we will add this file name. Okay, so here this storage function requires two parameters. Firstly, it will require the folder name in which the file will upload, and in the second argument it requires file name. So a storage function will modify the file name before it is uploaded. And here we will add one if condition. So if file is uploaded, then we will insert this uploaded file name inside database. So for that we already created file model. So we will use this file model and then create function. And inside this create function, we will add file name that we will receive from this file name variable. Alright, similarly we have this file name original that we are receiving from this file name original. Now let's import this model at this top. So we will write use app/models and file. This is done. Also we have to capture the response after saving file name inside database. So we will capture this response in one variable as $file. Okay, and here we will check if $file, that means if file name has been stored inside database, then we will return response JSON, and we will write status as success and message as success, file has been uploaded. Okay, for the else part, simply we will copy and add it, and here we will write failed, unable to upload file. This is done, and here we will add try catch block as well. So we will write try and catch. Inside this catch block we will use exception, and we will create one object as exception $a, and we will return response. Let's add dd in the JSON. So I will simply copy and paste this line, and the status will be failed, and message we will have $exception get message function. This is done. Now let's cut this entire code block and move it inside this try block. This is done. Yes. Now let's come to the browser and refresh this. Okay. Now let's choose the file and let's upload it. Yes, file has been uploaded. If we will check inside this folder, then inside this storage app we have this uploads folder, and here this file is uploaded. Similarly, if we will check into the database, let's refresh this table. Yes, we can see the file name is saved inside this database as well. Alright, and one more thing here, after uploading this file we will have to reset this form. So inside this file upload blade, so here inside this success response we will add $as file upload form 0 index.reset function. Alright, so this will reset form. This is done. Now let's save it and come back to the browser. We can remove this alert as well after 2 or 3 seconds. So here we will use set timeout function, and inside this we will pass timestamp as 2000 millisecond. We will empty this $response. So we will write $response dot empty function. This is done. Similarly, if we have any exception error, then this will be cleared. So let's save it and refresh this again. Now let's try to upload other image. Let's click on upload. Yes, file is uploaded, form is resetted, and that alert is gone now. So this is fine. Now we will talk about multiple image upload. So similar to this single image upload, we can implement multiple image and file upload functionality. Alright. So in order to do that, we will have to change this name attribute to array. So firstly we will change this name to files, and we will have to make this to array. This is done. And now inside this AJAX response, this will be same, alright, because we are capturing this form data through this form data object. Now let's come to the controller, and here we will have to change this validation rules to files. So we will have to make in this way, just like files dot asterisk, and here we will have to change this to files, and we will have to make one for each loop call. So we will write for each $request file files as $file. Okay, and this entire file upload logic will be moved inside that for each loop. Okay, and here instead of this $request file, we required only $file. So let's remove these things. File. Okay, we will capture this response in files array. Let's define this just above this for each loop. Okay, and here this if else response will be moved just outside this for each loop. We have to process the multiple file upload, and thereafter this response will be returned. So we will check if count of $files array is greater than 0, then we will return this response success files has been uploaded. This is done. Now let's come back to the browser, refresh this. Now let's choose the multiple files. Okay, click on upload. Yes, files has been uploaded. If we will check into the database, yes, files are uploaded. Okay, this is done, and inside this storage we will say we have the uploaded files. Alright, similar to this image, we can implement file upload. Just we have to change this MIMEs from image to files. So here we can add validation for file, just like PDF, Excel, XLX, docs, etc. Alright. So in the same way, you can implement for file upload as well. And that wraps up our tutorial on Laravel AJAX single and multiple file upload with validation. We have covered a lot of ground, from setting up our environment to handling uploads, validation, and error handling as well. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and that you feel confident implementing this feature in your own Laravel projects. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Until next time, happy coding.